Okay, camera's rolling. Hey, everybody. How's it going? All right, here we go. Hey, everyone. You're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Scherr, and I am super excited. I have got a fantastic guest in the studio with me today. My guest today is a wife to Josh and a proud mom of 4. Originally from New Jersey, she spent 15 years in Idaho before relocating to Flagler County in 2022. She earned a BA in Public Relations and Advertising from Penn State and a Master of Science in Broadcast Journalism from Syracuse University. She began her career in television, spending 7 years honing her skills and discovering the power of storytelling. Today, she's the founder and CEO of Iris Communications, a boutique communications and public relations consulting firm, and serves as the communications manager for Advent Health East Florida. Committed to service above self, she recently assumed the role of president of the Rotary Club of Flagler County. And when she's not working, you'll likely find her running, doing activities with her kids, reading, traveling, and tons of community service. Please welcome Michelle Bartlome. Michelle, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. I'm so excited.
It is my pleasure. So I mentioned that when you're not working, one of the activities is reading. So are you an avid reader?
I am. I will tell you, though, Jay, that title that you led into for this, if I could have someone just repeat that for me all the time in the background, all those accomplishments and achievements and all the great things that we're doing every day. Thank you. It's something.
It is something. It is my pleasure. And I also know, just from past experience and from being around you, that honestly, that just scratches the surface, right? I mean, it does kind of cover some of the higher level things, but there's a lot of other aspects to you, which I'm hoping we'll have an opportunity to explore here. So let's go back to reading for a moment.
Yep.
So you are an avid reader.
Yep.
And what type of books do you enjoy reading most?
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction. So give us an example. What is the most recent title that you've either finished reading or that you're reading right now?
I love reading a lot of business books, learning about how to be a better leader, what to do as strategies for what you need to accomplish for your future, and really inspirational stories from folks. Biographies are important. Ways to just learn about yourself. I will tell you, I also go to the library quite often. I think it's important for us to be a patron to our local libraries. And so took my kids down there recently, and they were able to find some books on their own as well. But reading is just a great way to kind of escape for a little bit into other people's lives. Fiction-wise, there's lots of great stories out there as well. So, love reading everything.
Okay.
But
so I'm going to go back to my original question to you. So what is a book that you either just finished or one that you are currently reading? I just want to get an idea, an example of the type of nonfiction book that you enjoy. So leadership, strategy, inspirational stories. What are you reading right now?
Yep. So I don't know what the name of the one is on my current nightstand, but it's about confidence. And really just finding a way to be confident in yourself. And again, just leadership, being a good individual out in the community. So that's kind of been the main thing. But I would say, Jay, it's changed from, 10 years ago. I probably would not have been reading those leadership books at that point in time. It was, I think there's seasons in your life. I think you change along with that. So.
Okay, well, I can't let that go. Okay, so 10 years ago, what would you have been into? So how have you changed and evolved yourself? So just kind of give us maybe a general overview of how you personally have grown and have evolved over the past 10 years.
Yeah. So it's funny. I think as you kind of get to a point in your life, you are able to kind of reflect on what you've accomplished, what you've achieved, but also how do you put your story out there? So it's very vulnerable to share with others your background, where you've come from, your past. And I'm doing that more often than I did before. So, I was always very kind of, closed off in making sure that I wasn't, sharing too much of my private life. And recently I've said, I'm going to share that, because if I had this as my background, there are others who will probably connect with me, or others who I can inspire or mentor or give some advice for how they can grow their own life in the future. So, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be sharing about my background, my past, how I got to where I'm at now. And now I welcome it. Let's talk about how to get to those goals that you want to achieve, because it's hard, and you have to really put yourself out there. And I think I've been doing that a lot more often than I did before.
I am really glad to hear that, because I agree with you. That is something that is very important, especially if it's important to you to be able to really connect with people
Right.
on a human to human level and be able to build deep connections and deep relationships, because we can't do that when we're pretending to be something that we're not. And I know from personal experience that I have certainly worn my share of masks and armor and everything else to try to show up in a way that really wasn't truly authentic to who I am at my core. I mean, there were certainly many aspects of who I am, but I was not the person who I am today, which is the most authentic version of who Jay truly is. So I'm glad to hear that you are in a season of life where you feel that you can really put yourself out there, because you know that those lessons and the experiences that you have are meaningful and that someone else can benefit and learn from that.
That's right.
Wonderful. So with all of that said, and with being authentic and true to who you are, I would love it if you would share one of the hardest things that you've done that pushed you beyond the edges of your comfort zone. And what specifically did you learn about yourself through that experience?
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things that you've experienced or that you've done.
Yeah. So again, this goes back to me sharing personal stories that maybe I didn't share before. A few years ago, when we moved to Florida, my husband was involved in a pretty serious bicycle accident. Someone hit him on his bicycle, and it was really traumatic. The paramedic at that point in time said if he hadn't been wearing his helmet, he probably would not be here today. And our lives changed like that. It went from him being our protector and caregiver to needing me to do everything for him at that point in time. He was bedridden. Again, it was extremely traumatic. So grateful that he's here with us today. But that 2 years ago has completely changed our whole dynamic. As a husband, you are that protector, you're that caregiver for your family. And he was not able to at that point in time for many months span. So I was doing everything for our family. I was taking care of all of our children, working full time, providing for us in that way as well. But that is a huge shift for anyone's life. And going through that has made me realize we got this. As a family, we are a strong family. As a person, I'm a lot more able to do things than, you don't always think, oh, I can do all of this. But I was able to, and I have been able to. But I'm so grateful. I know that there's a place for everyone and how things work in your life. And I know there's a plan. But again, glad that he's with us today. He's an amazing supporter and an amazing husband. I'm so grateful for him. But that changed a lot of our lives.
I can only imagine. And I'm curious, as you're sharing that piece of the story, how did you manage through the emotional aspect of what he was dealing with, that traumatic experience, and the impact that it had not only on him, obviously,
Right.
but also on you now shifting and stepping into an even larger role within your family. But the emotional side of that, speak specifically to that
Mm-hmm.
and how you handled that. Because I can only imagine that there had to be hours and days where you're just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how am I going to get through this?
Yeah, shock, I think, is the beginning part. It's, oh my gosh, did this really just happen? We talked earlier, Jay, about having a healthy lifestyle.
Hmm.
So I'm an avid runner. My
Hmm.
husband has been a cyclist for many, many years, and being out on the road, riding his bike has been his happy place. I've always been very fearful. Unfortunately, there's a lot of reckless drivers in our area. There's a lot of traffic, and getting that phone call of, I just got into an accident and the paramedics are coming to take me to the hospital. You need to get over here. Your heart stops in that moment. And, it was emotionally very difficult because you don't know what that's going to mean. Is he okay? What does this look like for him? So it's a rush to get down there. We went straight to the trauma bay. Praise Jesus. Everything worked out just fine. He was able to come home. But he's still, this is 2 years later, he's still going through his own personal effects from it. He had neck surgery in September. He still has issues with his lower back. And so this is an ongoing thing. So in that moment, emotionally, it's shock, disbelief. Oh my gosh, did this really just happen? And then it's pick up the pieces, Michelle. You got this. You have children. You need to make sure that they feel protected, supported, and cared for. So, let them all know what was happening when they had come home from school that day, because this was during a school day. And that as a family, we're going to get through this. We're there for each other. And that is the most important thing. I truly believe in family values, and making sure that you're able to get through that together as a family is really important, but also transparency. So I was very upfront with our children about what had happened with their dad, and that we were going to be, able to get out on the other side.
So has he experienced any fear at all in terms or any anxiety about being back on a bike, riding on the
Yes,
road, traffic, those sorts of things? So it has had that sort of impact as well.
absolutely.
Okay, now is he back on a bike?
Well, he went out just recently for a very short loop around our block, but
Hmm.
not at all. I don't
Okay.
even think his body could sustain in the same way, because it's taken so much out of him. But I, as I said before, being a part of a healthy lifestyle and encouraging, our family to go out there and do sports and do, fitness, and stay involved with that. It's hard because when you've gone through these things that have an adverse effect,
Yeah.
it's difficult, but
That is definitely difficult.
mhm,
So you have a close, tight knit family,
we do.
and your parents are here
That's
locally,
right.
right? They live in this proximity as well, which is really nice. But you weren't born and raised in Florida, and somehow a good part of your family made their way here. So very briefly, share with us how the entire family ended up here. Now, I know you have two siblings. Do they live in other areas? Okay, but the parents, your grandparents who have since passed,
Right.
were also living here. How'd that happen?
Yeah. So it actually all starts with my grandparents. So 32 years ago, they decided that Palm Coast was the place for them. We're all New Jersey. That's where we were at before.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, hey, come on down to Florida and check it out. And, Palm Coast is this new community that we're going to be building. And they were one of the first ones to say, yes, let's make that decision to move down here. So that was
Cool.
32 years ago. And slowly the migration happened with the rest of my family. My aunts and uncle moved down here. My parents moved down here about 8 years ago. And, it was time to be close to my family. I'd lived in Idaho for so long.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my husband and family lives and still lives today. And I just wanted to be close to my parents. Funny, because I was an independent child. I was the one who was saying, let's get out there and let's do more. And now I live a mile from my parents. I love it. I'm very grateful for the opportunity it gives to my children to have time with their grandparents as well.
That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, we're going to hit pause on the conversation because we are going to take a brief break to thank our amazing sponsors. My friends, you are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. Don't you go anywhere. We will be right back. All right. Great job. You doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So, I want to stay on family a little bit because there's a couple questions that I want to ask you there.
Sure.
And it may open up the transition a little bit to Rotary because of your dad's involvement
Absolutely.
and his influence on
100%.
you, right? So we might talk about that a little bit as well. So.
Yeah, very good.
All right. All right, very good. And almost your entire family went to Penn State.
Except for my husband.
Except for your hubby. Okay.
We jokingly say it like that, Jay. Everyone else went to Penn State. My cousins went to Penn State. My whole immediate family, except for my dear husband, who went to Washington State. So there's always a joke between us, right? Because I don't know if you know much about college football, but Pac-12 is Pac-10, whatever. They're all kind of falling apart. So we're all Big Teners.
Right.
And
That's so good.
He's fallen in line. He is a Penn State fan.
How could he not? He didn't have any choice in the matter.
I know. It was happening no matter what.
That's too funny. I love that. All right. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Were you ready, Mr. Mark? Okay. All right. I hope you're still tuning in. We're having a good conversation here. Wish you were here in the studio with us. All right. Here we go, Mark. All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with my very special guest, Michelle Bartlome. Michelle, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely. We're having a fantastic conversation. We're going to keep that conversation rolling right now. So we were just, right before the break, we were talking about how really almost your entire family made their way from New Jersey to Florida. And it really started with Grandma and Grandpa, right? 32 years ago came to Palm Coast, which is really cool, right? And then the rest of the family kind of migrated here. So tell me a little bit about Grandma and Grandpa, because I know that they played a very important role in your heart and in your life. And I would love it if you would share for just a moment or two a little bit about the two of them.
Yeah, my grandparents were definitely the role model for our family. They believed in giving back to your community and church and service. And we saw that play out through their, 60 plus year marriage. Both recently have passed actually, but they were what you aspire to be as a couple who met, got married, had children, and truly loved each other and their family. And I use the word protector. They were the protectors for their family. And, we looked up to our grandparents. When I was little, they moved down here to Florida, and they would invite us to come down as grandchildren. Each summer, one grandchildren, we all got time to spend with Grandma and Grandpa.
Okay.
And it was your summer. So whatever it is that you got to do that summer, it was special. It was just what you did with them. So during my summer down here, we went to Savannah, Georgia. Again, these little memories that you have as core moments, because they weren't with us all the time in New Jersey. From that, though, it really emulated, this is the kind of family that I want to have as I have my own children in the future. Being involved, being engaged, being a good role model for them. My parents were the same way. My parents were a great role model for us. Obviously, that's why I have now chosen to live next door to them, literally.
Right.
But, they allowed us to see all the great things that you can be as a strong, committed family, but also the freedom to figure out who you are within that. I'm sure not every parent wants their child to move across the country for a job in television, but that is what I did, and they supported me through that. And that's really allowed me as a parent to be able to say, go forth, dream big, and let's make sure that we're able to support you through that.
Ah, I love that. So your mom and your dad, Kenneth, Nancy. So tell me, what is one of the most valuable lessons that you took or have taken away from your mom that you still carry with you today?
Oh man. My mom is truly my best friend. She is there for me in every sense of the way. And she was always involved. She was involved in everything that we did in school. She was involved in our extracurricular. She was just there for me. And if I'm able to be that person for my kids in the future, have been, will be, are, amazing. I have done my job because she's just an amazing person. And again, she's made me feel that amazing connection to her. And she's just so involved in everything. My dad, similar, he's really shown me how to give back in the community and how to be a good mentor for others. It's really important for me to, as I've learned so much and grown so much, giving that back to the younger generations by encouraging them to do more, and also for giving them good guidance. Because when you're starting out, you really do need people who've done those things to be able to provide you with, hey, this is a good thing that worked for me. You might want to look into this, or just being a cheerleader on the side. So both my parents were able to do that for me.
That's beautiful. So you have been, I mentioned in the intro that you are now the president of the Rotary Club of Flagler County. And you've been involved in Rotary for a number of years. And this wasn't the first Rotary Club, obviously, that you were involved in. But your father is involved in the exact same club, and he has been a longtime Rotarian. So what was that experience like when you became the president of the Rotary Club, and here your dad is, who's a member of that club, and to see his daughter move into that type of role, and just the example that he set that you're living, right? So what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Rotary is, the motto is service above self. And I fully believe that to my core. I think it's important to give back in your community and find ways to be a great role model for others. Rotary has been in my life since I was little. My dad, as mentioned, was a Rotarian, so we would go out with him to many of the events and help out as volunteers, as a way to give back in your community. Been a Rotarian for 14 years now.
Wow,
I
good
have
for
been
you.
a president in my last club, and I've been an assistant governor as well, which means that you oversee other clubs within your district and help to give them, provide guidance, mentorship, etc. Moving here to Florida, naturally, I was going to become a Rotarian, but the question was which clubs. So I did my due diligence, and I did go and visit other Rotary clubs in our area. But to be honest with you, when your dad's a member of a certain club, having that legacy and being able to, every week we go together to meetings, and we're able to really share this very special connection through it. It was a no-brainer. So obviously I chose the Rotary Club of Flagler County. I take over this year, April 1st, as president. I was in line for president-elect, which would be through July, taking that position on just a little earlier. But when asked if I would move into the position, obviously the answer is yes. I had to check with my husband first to make sure he was okay, because it's a commitment. But
Of course it is. But Michelle steps up.
it's important.
It is important. I think it's
So-
fantastic. And obviously you continue to lead a great example for others to follow. And I love that. And I love to see how engaged you are in the community. And obviously this is just one aspect of what you do, right? There's many things that you do to show your ability to give back and how important that is, and how you're instilling that in your family as well, which I think is outstanding. So I want to switch gears for a moment. If you had the opportunity to sit on a park bench today, incredibly beautiful day out today, isn't it? But if you had the opportunity to go outside, sit on a park bench with any one person, either living or no longer with us, and you could ask that person one question and one question only. First, who is it that you would want to sit on that park bench with? And then number two, what is the one question that you would want to ask that person?
Wow. What a question, Jay. Let me think for a second. I
Sure.
think I Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. Okay.
I think I would love to talk with her about how she became the person that she is today, and really the example that she's been able to set for others, how she knew that was her journey.
That's a good one. I think I'd want to sit on the park bench
With
with
me.
you and hear the response to that question.
Yeah.
So, no matter what Mother Teresa shared with you,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel that if she shared something that was very different from the way that you live your life today, if there was something that she
Yeah.
shared that was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not doing that right now, or that would be extremely difficult for me to do,
Yeah.
would you still do it?
Yeah. I think I would be taking that advice to heart for sure. I
Okay.
mean, definitely. I think you're always growing as a human being. And I think that there's always room to grow. People get really scared of failure, so they don't always try new things. But yeah, absolutely. If there's advice, I try to take all of that to heart when I'm talking with others in general, but definitely from Mother Teresa. So,
Absolutely. All right. Very good. So, if you had the ability to take your life experiences and
mhm.
your learnings and everything that you've been able to absorb and live up to this point, and if you could distill that and have one last conversation or one last talk,
Yeah.
so you're asked to give a talk and you're able to give that one last talk, what message would you give?
Wow. Your story matters. I would say your story's not completely written yet. So what you do from here will shape how that is. So go out there and share it, first of all, because your voice is important
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely is something that should be shared. But if you're maybe still looking for what comes next, go try something different. Go be someone different, or find ways to develop yourself, because your story's not done yet. Your story's not written yet, and let's share that.
All right, that's great. I love that. So, with that said, and I know that you are a very focused, very goal oriented person.
That's true.
And for those that are listening right now, if you cannot sense that in Michelle's voice, you need to you need to get to know Michelle better. I promise you, because it is part of her personality and it's part of what I love. So, as you assess your own self today and where you are today and how you've developed as a human being, both personally and professionally, I want you to be honest with all of us right now. Not that you haven't been honest up to this point, I know you have been, but I would love for you to give us an honest assessment of yourself and share with me, if I were holding up a mirror to you right now, share with me what would be one or two key areas that you feel you personally need to work on. What is the gap that's going to take you from where you are today to where you want to grow? What do you need to work on?
Yeah. I talked in the very beginning of our conversation about confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people use the words, the saying imposter syndrome, and I think that's true. I think after you've taken so much time to get to where you're at, your achievements, your recognition, you continue to grow yourself. You kind of doubt yourself still sometimes, and that for me is something that I continue to overcome. I've definitely put in the time. I've gotten the skills. I continue to grow. I'm a lifelong learner. I definitely have goals and objectives,
Mm-hmm.
but it can I do more, and am I able to do this? And I said earlier, failure is a part of the process. It is, but it's scary. It's scary to fail. It's scary to put yourself out there and be very vulnerable. So that for me is something that I always work on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I see, next steps for me is continuing with confidence and putting myself out there and really making sure that I'm putting my best foot forward all the time.
Okay. So I want to ask you a quick follow-up question as we're wrapping up the conversation. So I understand that you're, like many of us, right? You're working through self-doubt and also asking yourself the question, can I do more? What
Right.
more can I do? What more can I give? So I want to focus on the second part of that question then, the what can I do? Can I do more? When will you know that you're enough?
I mean, I don't know. If I knew the answer to that, I don't know. I think that it all comes to the seasons again of retrospect. So right now, I know I've done so many things in my past, but who knows what's to come for the future. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep looking for ways to grow and develop as a person, how to help with my community, how to help others to share their voice. So I hope one day to be able to respond back better and say it was today, but maybe I just don't know it right now.
And
So
that's okay. So we'll have that conversation another time.
that's right.
All right, Michelle, I want to thank you so very
Thank you,
much for
Jay.
joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. What a fantastic conversation. I appreciate your level of authenticity. I appreciate you giving us the space and opportunity to take this conversation in different directions and getting to know you more. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate being here.
It is my pleasure. And for all of you, I want to thank you so very much for tuning into Business Minds Coffee Chat. We will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning and growing and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, everybody. All right.